I'm not really actually a huge MMO player. I've always sort of been intrigued by the genre. I've played a lot of them, but I usually fall off pretty hard. I've always had this sort of allure about WoW. I think because it's been in the forefront of gaming for so long as the sort of king, as it were, of MMOs, I've always been drawn to it, but I've either never had a PC or my Mac couldn't run it, or I just didn't really understand why. And maybe something to do with being my age now. I really like the combat of World of Warcraft. There's something so satisfying that maybe when I was younger, I really wasn't turned on to the idea of going to a place, picking a quest, going there, doing the checklist of that quest list, and then how many times can I say quest in one sentence, and then coming back to the quest giver, leveling up. And it's also great because with the expansions in WoW Retail, I'm playing through Legion right now. It is incredibly satisfying to be in the floating islands and to experience each one of these regions and how uniquely diverse each of them is. There's something so remarkably open-ended, obviously, about how much possibility there is within this game. And I'm only scratching the surface as a level 36 player at the time of writing. I'm eager to see what regions look like and what the experience will be like in each of those specific regions. And that's one of the things that makes WoW so beautiful, is that I, as a new player who has literally no experience with World of Warcraft whatsoever, I'm diving into these things with this fresh new perspective. And not only that, but I'm also exploring this stunningly, beautifully, classically written music with evocative choirs, beautiful sounds of things that I understand from my classical upbringing because I was an opera singer for 10 years and I've been exposed to classical music for so long. WoW is a playground of beautifully written Western classical compositions with gorgeous ethereal choirs and stunning string sections. And, you know, I just went to Grizzly Hills the other day and hearing that stunning melody just really set me off. And so anyway, blah, 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 blah. The point of this video is to sort of highlight, this is episode 1, if you will, of that sort of experience. I recently played through High Mountain. That was the first region of WoW that I experienced. And I have to say, it was funny to not know anything about WoW coming from Final Fantasy XIV with about 500-ish hours, even though I said that I have not played through many MMOs. Final Fantasy XIV was one that I committed to from start to finish over the course of 5 years. High Mountain was beautiful. High Mountain was lush, the forests were dense, the characters were interesting, the music was sublime, and it was my introduction to the world of Warcraft. Yes, Orgrimmar, or Grimmar, however you pronounce it, the Dragonflight main theme, which I'll get to eventually, like going to Dalaran, both versions getting incredibly lost, all of those things have been really satisfying. But that first like 15 or so levels that I spent in High Mountain, the hunter's place is in High Mountain. So like going there to pick where I was going to go on the floating islands, the floating isles, or whatever they're called, I'm sorry. That's all been so interesting to me. But really, it's some of these musical tracks that I really wanted to highlight. And thank you to Everness over on YouTube for compiling essentially every single piece from High Mountain. I mean, I'm even thinking about the sweeping vistas, the beautiful mountain peaks, the stunning architecture, this Native American architecture. There's that section where you're taking the random gnome to learn how to hunt, and there's moose, and you have to kill like mountain lions, and there's just this beautiful spring of water, and you have to kick the salmon into the water. Let's listen to some of these tracks because I'm really, really blown away by it. It's so incredibly, I don't want to say heroic, but the melody is so bounding and playful and energetic, and it gives you the feeling of unlimited possibility, seeing like the sun in the sky, or like watching a bunch of birds fly overhead, or it feels like you're flying through the air, doesn't it? Ba 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 ba. That rhythm like that's that forward propulsion that makes us feel so like free. And in this particular case, the way that the strings are written, it does sound like this flying quality, but then you get the chorus. chorus is basically singing in unison, even though they have their own harmonies, but they're in unison in terms of their movement. And it's just so... What WoW does really well is it takes a choir, has it be a part of the ensemble rather than the choir being like the soloist, right? So even though you hear the choir, it's actually blended beautifully into the rest of the instrumentation. So it doesn't feel like the chorus is separate from the music. And you feel how tall that is, that you could easily say that height is the connection to the mountains, or it's the feeling of the autumnal air on your nostrils, or the feeling of the flowers and the grass, or the beautiful evergreens that are all over the place in High Mountain. You could also think of that as like possibility, of opportunity, of joy, of a really, I mean, besides the fact that the Legion has invaded, in general, High Mountain seems like a pretty peaceful place full of hunters and folks who love nature. It's not exotic, but there's a real sense of naturalness. Flute is a woodwind instrument, and I'm not sure that was the intention here, but because we're in a wooded area, it's actually beautiful to have the flute be front and center. And underneath you have this beautiful brass section that's actually aiding that flute and sort of elevating it. And I think that there's still the choir behind it, but let me just rewind for a second. Yeah. So you have the trumpet underneath, or it seems like a French horn actually, that's in counter melody with the flute, and the flute is thrust forward. So the flute is actually the soloist of this piece. That counter melody and essentially creating a harmony between the flute and the French horn is just so full of body and so full of almost this earthiness, which is really lovely. It's just like very sublime. And the choir's in the background like that, right here. You hear that? Yeah. Yada da da. So the flute and that horn section there, they're in opposition and just in harmony with each other, but the movement is so beautiful because they both kind of go down or they go up together, and it's just so full. Of course, the classic thing of taking that melody and then repeating it, but with the full chorus. And there's a bit of a beautiful sforzando there that kind of exists, that it's very inviting. It's very warm. It's one of my favorite tracks from that region, actually. There was another one here that I wanted to listen to. There's something about this and the way that the rhythm is that just is so satisfying. And then you hear this sort of similar melody. What's amazing about the choral writing in this particular game, I haven't heard enough of it to really say that, but in this particular little area, the choral writing is very open-throated. It's very oh. There's not a lot of text. And what's really fantastic about that is when we get choir, I think there's something about the human spirit whenever it hears a choir. Choir is very fascinating because you take a bunch of soloists, put them in an ensemble, and then they become one. And so what you end up getting is this soundscape that is guided by hundreds of people, let's say, or at least 50 to 60 people. And even though they're all individuals, they come together and they sound like one. And so when they sing pure vowels, a, e, I, o, u, together, no consonants, no notes, no words, all of a sudden you get this soundscape, especially when there's harmony in between them. You got the sopranos singing the melody, the tenors and the altos on the inside voice singing the harmonies, and you have the bass supporting the other three voices. All of a sudden, you get this magnificent wall of sound that can essentially illustrate a whole bunch of different emotions without text. But also melody line is so important. When I hear that, that feels like a resolution, like looking out at a sun setting after a really hard day. It's very like loving, a warm fire, especially when we consider High Mountain. You know, I'm looking at a picture of a snowy area next to a river, and there's the grass is a little bit dead, and there's evergreens, and there's a beautiful mountain in the background, and so, like, you know, I think that's something that's really, really wonderful about this, is that melody is so subtle, and that melody can cause us to feel any sort of context. Now, you can relate any of this music back to your experience with WoW, especially for some of you veteran players, but if you remove the context, it really just feels like a warm hug, ultimately. And then the counterpoint with the horn there. There's that flute again, bringing it forward and center. All about hope and opportunity and chance. Love these horns in here. Doubling. Big swell, tension, big shift there. Oh. Yes, there is drama here, but it's okay because we are going to battle. Love that. You hear the tension in the strings, the way they're moving? More of that drama as we dip. There's the Legion, right? So that is, however long, it's like a minute, and yet it's 2 minutes, and it tells a giant story about the Taurens, tells a story about the life here in High Mountain and how everything was so peaceful until the Legion arrived, and now all of a sudden, you know, we can't just go fishing. Now all of a sudden we have to fight because there's a tribal war between X and Y, and I can't remember all the names, but like then the Tauren dies, it's tragic. And so it's like, we just want to live a good life. We just want to enjoy our life. And High Mountain, it's so beautiful here. We feel safe. We feel protected by the mountains, so on and so forth. But yet now we have to do battle because this opposing faction doesn't want us. And we, you know, they want to claim whatever and, you know, this complex. But that's the beauty of this, is that goes on an entire journey. The beginning is, these are two little tiny tracks that I was listening to when I was listening to the whole thing. They're absolutely beautiful. I want to listen to more. I want to talk more about High Mountain. High Mountain really, really, really sold me on WoW. It's been amazing. Stormheim was good, but I loved the Nordic influence of Stormheim, especially Thorim's Peak. Thorim's Peak was gorgeous. That beautiful autumnal color of the leaves and just all the mysticism in there was absolutely amazing. Right now I'm in Azuna. It's just gorgeous. And, you know, regardless of what goes on with WoW and the community and some of the frustrations that people have, which are all valid in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons, as a new player, I have been really, really, really impressed, surprised, and kind of overjoyed because I've been looking for a game that I could really immerse myself in, digest, and really enjoy on my own, and have it be something that I could really start to get passionate about. And you know, I don't want to speak too soon, but World of Warcraft seems like that is going to be that game for me, which is really exciting. If you like this, there's more World of Warcraft on the channel and certainly more to come. Feel free to like, subscribe. I stream every day, basically on Twitch and on YouTube, thanks to multi-streaming. And as always, I'll see you later. Bye.